But first, before I do that, I just want to mention that youth in our church or in this country, up to 40 years of age, youth.
After 40?
Up to 40.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So, if you don't mind, would you care to tell them about your ear?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, you see my ear has a lump. Last year I would have died, but the Lord saved my life. In the course of ministry, I served in a church that is surrounded by, is like a ghetto. I don't know, ghetto, that's slum. And a lot of young people there are drug addicts. They take all manner of hard drugs. So I devise a means of reaching out to them. Sometimes I ask for the church leaders, we cook food, we just take to where they used to take drugs. And we give them. Sometimes I'll walk there and share the gospel with them. So one of our members, a woman, died. And she was, the body was taken to morgue. And when we were to do the burial, we went to pick the body for funeral, and some issues came up from the hospital. When these young men from the bush heard what was happening, that the body was somehow tampered with, and so we were asking the hospital management what happened. These guys just came with petrol that they are going to burn the facility. And I was there on my cassock, so I left the policemen, the hospital management, and the family members talking, because I knew what those guys could do. If I didn't appease them, trying to plead with them to calm down, they can put that facility on fire, and that will cause a serious crisis in the city of Jos, where I was serving at that time. It was just 3 days to national election. There was already tension between Christians and Muslims. And the hospital facility is on the border, to the right, Muslims, to the left, Christians. So I'm sure if that place was set on fire, the next thing the Muslims will react. If one Muslim is killed, then it will have turned out to be a bloody experience. So these guys came, I was pleading with them. One of them said they learned that I'm among the people that connive with the hospital management. So they were saying no. Some of them were saying no. Pastor is trying to make sure that right things are done. One of them just pulled out an iron and he targeted my head. So I raised my hand. My hand somehow stopped the impact of the iron, so it landed on my ear. And my ear started bleeding. I fell down flat. They had to quickly rush me to Ekwa Teaching Hospital. And immediately I was rushed to the theater to make sure that no nerve is affected. So that's how the Lord saved me. Now, I can say like Paul, I have a mark of the gospel. You know, the other day my wife was saying this, I said, don't worry, whatever happens to it, even I see it is a mark of the gospel, and it's a reminder that I still have some mission ahead of me before I die. Yes. Yes, sir.
How was it your father came to Christ?
Oh, that's interesting. I discussed with my dad some years ago how he became a Christian. You went to Algetu. There's a village close to Algetu where the gospel was shared by an EMS missionary from Malumfashi. So my dad will ride bicycle for like 20 minutes, or no, 30 minutes. He will go and meet the missionary to teach him hymns, Hausa hymns. Then that was how my dad, through those hymns, he became a Christian. And he used the same hymns to reach out to his brothers. That's why today in my village, country, all my paternal uncles, they are Christians. The best song of my dad is, he likes singing, The great physician now is near. The sympathize in Jesus. Then the second best hymn is Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Yesu dus and chetona. Barimbu ye wurenka. Anytime my dad says he has a special number, I know that he's going to sing Rock of Ages. If he doesn't sing Rock of Ages, then he will sing The Great Physician. It's mine. Did I answer your question? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Okay.
One other, did your mom remarry then?
Yes, my mom remarried to a Muslim. My mom, when they got divorced, she went to stay with her grandmother. Her grandmother was a traditional worshiper and a priest in traditional worship. So she taught her the acts of traditional worship, and my mom became a priest in traditional worship. When I was growing up, when I visit her, I would see like 20 women, 30 women coming to her place, and I asked her, what are they here for? She would say they have come because they need to consult the gods and see what is wrong with them. So I grew up seeing my mom going through those kind of experiences. Sometimes they sacrifice meat to idols, so when I visit her, she will take some of the meat and give me. And on the way, I will throw the meat away by the countryside because I'm a Christian. I don't want to eat anything that is committed to idols. So one day I came and she looked at me straight to my eyes. She said, I know when I give you those meat, you don't used to eat. She said, yes, I know. So I know she has a way of doing all this demonic stuff. And you hear her in her shrine singing and praying to idols. So I began to talk with her. I think for about 5 years now, she told me she has stopped doing those things. She is now a Muslim. So the next movement I'm trusting God for her to do is to leave Islam and become a Christian. She's still alive, and I'm still praying for her that the Lord will bring her to the faith. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you want to share about your move, seminary changing?
Okay. Yes, I came to the States last year, to Westminster Theological Seminary, Philadelphia, and the major reason that brought me to Philadelphia, Westminster, is they have apologetic track. As you see in my strategy, I have passion for apologetics, especially as it relates to youth ministry and Muslim evangelism, especially in 21st century setting. So I came there and discovered their curriculum has something that is not really meeting the needs or what I need when I return to Nigeria. So I applied to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, Louisville, Kentucky, which they have graciously granted me admission. And I'm trusting God to move there by fall. They have good track. They have some courses on Islamic thoughts, Islamic theology, and they also have courses on Arabic language, which I'm considering picking so that I will be versatile when it comes to dealing with issues that concerns Islam. Since most of the young people I'll be working with when I return, and pastors, we will be training in the seminary where I trust God to domicile myself, as I also extend to do other things in northern Nigeria, training pastors and church leaders who served in northwestern Nigeria, north central Nigeria, and northeastern Nigeria, where you are hearing the Boko Haram activities. The seminary I was partnering with before coming, which I'm trusting God, if they give me opportunity, I'll also take some courses there in the future, train pastors that reach out to Muslims that are around those axes. And also, in terms of finances, Southern Baptist is cheaper than Westminster Theological Seminary. So to be a steward of resources, Since Southern Baptist has a better curriculum and is also cheaper in terms of resources, I just felt the need, as the Lord laid in my heart, to make a move, and the Lord answered my prayer. So hopefully by August 8th, I'm moving to Louisville. My orientation is 14th of August, and classes will begin 17th. I think my first class will be Hebrew. I'll be having Hebrew by 9 to 11:50. Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea how many years left you have of schooling at Southern Baptist?
At Southern, the course I applied for, since I'm transferring credit units to Southern, I have like 2 years to be at Southern. So I don't know after that if there's anything coming up, but I know I'll be shuttling back to Nigeria, do ministry even before I graduate from Southern Baptist as I continue studies. Yes, sir.
Is there any idea how soon your wife and children can come to be with you? Or
Yeah, Southern Baptist policy is I have to come with my family because they believe the wife needs to be trained. So for Southern Baptist, if not because of COVID, they wouldn't even allow me to move to Southern Baptist if my family are not with me. So I trust God as soon as COVID situation is over. They have to go to the embassy for visa interview. We are praying that the Lord will grant them a visa. Hopefully, as the COVID situation gets better, maybe at the beginning of next year, because I don't see that happening this year with all the politics of COVID around the world.
classes this past semester did you take classes?
Oh yeah, I have done Greek classes, Greek 1, 2, and full Greek syntax. So I've taken 9 credit hours. No, 4, that's 4, 2, 10 credit hours of Greek classes. And I've taken church history, 4 credit hours, what we call patristic period, the first 500 of church history, and then 600 to 1400 of church history. So moving to Southern, I'm going to take 1500 to modern church history. I've also taken 2 courses in apologetics, 1 and 2, which has helped me to understand the history of philosophy in the West, how philosophy affects the way people think in the West, and how it affects secularism, which is affecting young people. I've taken Introduction to New Testament 1 and 2, which has further equipped me to understand some of the gimmicks in the area of attack against the authenticity of Scripture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes.
You said that, excuse me, you said that a lot of the youth in your area, meaning teens, have been exposed to Western thought, a lot of Western influence. Has the issue of transgender issues become an issue over Nigeria yet?
Oh yes, sure. Working with young people, I had the privilege of meeting a lot of young people who are struggling with gender identity. So it's a big trouble. Parents don't know, because some of the young people are afraid to come out and say, hey, this is my view on this, because the government passed a policy and said no. I was privileged to serve in a church where I partner with someone who runs a ministry that has to do with young girls, and they signed up during the legislation to get signatories of young people who would say no to the policy that the government wanted to legalize the gender political issues. So we have a lot of those challenges there. And we also have a lot of young people who are beginning to doubt the existence of God. I was sharing with John, with pain and with joy in my heart, I buried a young man who was reading architecture in the university in his final year. His mom met me that the young man was reading some books he doesn't know. So I discovered he had read Richard Dawkins' God Delusion, and with some of those books around that philosophical thoughts that attack the authority of Scripture. So he told me that he doesn't believe the Bible is inspired. It was a tough meeting. So I had to set a series of meetings with him and ask him to give me any question he thinks he has that he makes him doubt. So he gave me like full 4 pages of his own argument. I started discipling him. After a while, he took ill and he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. I remember the Friday he asked his mom, that his mom to call me. He wants me to come to the hospital. They were referred to India, so I tried as much as possible to see him before he was flown to India. When I got to the hospital, I stood by the window because the hospital people couldn't allow me since it was not visiting time. I prayed with him and I asked him, from our discussion, what do you think? Do you still think that God doesn't exist and the Bible is not true? He said he's changing his mind. So I led him to Christ on the bed. After I left the following morning, they called me that the young man has gone to be with the Lord. So with pain and joy, I was the one that traveled to the countryside where they buried him to perform his funeral rites. So we have those big struggles. One of the pains, we have musicians, quote unquote gospel musicians, who are drifting from the core of Christian faith. Who we have some now in the city of Jos. They call themselves Black Jew movement. So those people, they don't go to church. They are beginning to do freelancing Christianity. And since you're in the West, you understand what I'm talking about. The moment somebody begins to say that the church is not important, you know already their faith is beginning to crack. Because when you don't have place of fellowship where your faith is being developed and you are growing in maturity with the Lord, you can easily drift away. So it's a big challenge. Yeah. Okay.